My name is Leroy Blevins. Welcome to Mysteries and Histories. In this episode here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about something different. It's in the JFK assassination, though, but it's something I usually don't do unless I have a lot of evidence. As everybody knows, if you go over my books and my videos and stuff, you see I don't post nothing unless it's a fact. But this has been bothering me for years when I've been doing research on the JFK assassination, and I want to make this known. And so what I'm going to do is point out some facts here, and it kind of disturbs me a lot, but it's still, I consider evidence. But as everybody knows, that when it comes to the JFK assassination, that even eyewitnesses, police department, everybody's a suspect to me until they're proven innocent. But there's just a couple of things that really bother me when I go over images of the Tramps, all the images of the Tramps and stuff. Now, I colorize all the images, but we're going to go with just the basic black and white images so people can't say, oh, you add that into it or anything else like that. Because like I said, there's a lot of information that we could pull from these images if we look at them. Just like I'll pull up this image here, okay? Now, a lot of people say, well, what was this image got to do with anything? Well, when I look at this image here, it gives us more details on where everybody's at the time when these images was taken. It's like Mrs. Setzman. Now, everybody knows that Mrs. Setzman is Mr. Zapruder's secretary, and she was standing on a pillar with Mr. Zapruder on a retaining wall while he was filming. Well, she can also be seen in this image as well. If you watch my cursor, she's right here. This is where Mrs. Setzman is. Now she's in front of the Texas School Book Depository. Okay, and she's there. We see her in other films and images. And these are just taken like minutes after the assassination. So it's like a quick stop from the wall where her and Mr. Zapruder was at to where these images was taken. Now, as you know, in my research, that I found a location of 5 gunmen. Well, I ID'd Oswald being on the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository because we have an image, the Diller image, which actually shows him in that location. And as you see in my other videos where I talk about the 2 gunmen was inside shelter number 3 was 2 of the Tramps that they picked up that day. But they're still IDing the other 2 gunmen, which is on the rooftop of the county records building and the 2nd floor of the county records building. Now, we know one of them looks like he has a cop uniform on, which is always what gets me is when I did this research and investigation. I would say the other 2 gunmen had been dressed up like police officers. Now, the reason why I say this is because they're in the county records building next to the jailhouse, and it was easy for them to get in and get out. So when I look at this image from the Bell film, excuse me, when I look at it from the Bell film, it looks like he has a police uniform on. Now, the gunman on the rooftop of the county records building, we can't be for sure if he had a cop uniform on, but it's just like the profile or something there. You know how when you do an investigation or research or something, you get this gut feeling. And to me, both of these were actually dressed up in, these 2 gunmen was dressed up in police uniforms. Because we could see one of them that was, but we don't know about the other one. But I just had that gut feeling that actually both of them was dressed up in police uniforms. Now, when I had this gut feeling, I started looking over, some of the images and stuff. I actually looked at all the black and white images, looking over the police uniforms and the police officers and stuff like that. And there's 2 officers that really stand out that didn't look normal as the rest of the police that was on scene there. And I'm going to pull them up. Now, as you see here, this was taken as it was coming from the parking lot in the railroad yard. This backdrop here is actually right where the back side of the Texas School Book Depository, because this is a Texas School Book Depository right here where my cursor is. And I guess this will be where the loading docks are. And then there's loading docks on the other side. Excuse me. Now, this officer here and this officer here, there's things that stand out on these two officers that really bothers me a lot when I look at this, and I'm going to show you. One, we see the three tramps here. We see the, well, we can't, we just see the feet and the legs of the older tramp that's behind this one. But we see two tramps. We see this officer here in front. We see this officer in back. Now, there's too much of a gap between these tramps and these officers. What really puzzles me, because if you got somebody under in custody, they're either going to be in handcuffs, or if you're bringing them in for questioning, you're going to be a lot closer to them in case they try to take off and run. But as you see, they have too much of a gap in between this, and then everybody's sitting there. See, like this guy here, there's a rumor out where this guy came by and starts talking to, said something to these guys and stuff. That's just a theory. Okay, we don't know if he really said anything to them or not, or it doesn't matter because we really don't know. That's just somebody bringing out some other stuff. But what I'm going to bring out is what can actually be seen. Now, if you look at this officer in the back, we're going to start with this officer in the back first. When I was even colorizing this, what brings it out more too, and that's what makes me see more details when I start colorizing it, is that we see he does not have police issued shoes on. He actually has military boots on. And as you see, the pants is a lot bigger for this officer, because most of the officers that we see there, their uniforms fit them very well, and these are more baggy on him. And you can see there was actually tucking done on these pants, because these pants ain't coming down as normal as they should. So it's basically, these pants was for a taller person, but this is a shorter officer. Now, he also has, like I said, military boots on. He does not have shoes on, regular, policeman shoes that they wear. Because if you look at all of the officers, okay, which I'm going to pull up here, see, he has regular issued officer footwear on. Okay, so this one here doesn't have that. He has military boots on. Now, if you look at him and you see his rifle, it almost looks like the same type and the same guy that was poking out of the second floor of the county records building. And you see how he has his hat just put it up there like that. Now, a regular policeman, especially back in the 1960s, they have more respect on how they're dressed, and their clothes are going to be tight fit. They're going to be well pressed and stuff. But you can see this uniform on this officer here is very baggy. Now, I pointed out some facts on this officer here. Now let's look at this officer here. One thing I find out when I was colorizing this image and looking at this officer as well is because some other things on this officer that stands out that it don't stand out on other officers there that day. Now, if we look at the pants area here, which is when you colorize it and you start darkening it and everything else, you'll see he's got powder, like gravel powder, on his knees and on his pants leg, which I'm going to show you another image here. Right here. We're going to zoom in. As you see here, he's got white powder from gravel on around his knee area and on the side of his pants, and right over here. Because this officer is not the same officer we see in the other image. That officer, that was the only image taken of the other officer. This is a different officer now. This works for Dallas Police Department. This is a different officer now. But this officer here is the same officer right here. Now, another thing I want to point out is his shoes. As you see, they're not tied shoes. They're more like penny loafers. And as you see, there's cuts. Like these shoes are too small for his feet. But also on these shoes, as you see, on right here, bring this one up here, you see right here, and over here on here, there are gravel marks right along with that same white powder all over his shoes. Now, what makes this so interesting, okay, is the pure simple fact of it is, as everybody knows, on the rooftop of the county records building, they have gravel. Okay, there's gravel roofs. I used to work on flat roofs like this all the time for years when I was in construction. And you know, they got gravel, and with the gravel, there's that white powder. Most of the roofs around there has gravel and white powder. But on this officer here, we can actually see, which I'm going to zoom in, gravel marks on his penny loafers, and as you see here, white powder from that gravel. And as you see here, like I pointed out, on his pants, we can see the white gravel powder on his pants. Now, when we look at this image here, we can see he's looking at these tramps, but this, like I said, this is not the same officer that we see here. Okay, this officer here, he's gone. This is the only image we're going to see of this officer here, but this officer here is this one right here. That's him right here. Now he's more close to the tramps. Now they're fitting them in tight. They're not, you know, walking in a, you know, big gap in between them. Even when they're walking across the street, we can see he's fitting more tight to them. There's a little bit of gap here, but he's still fitting tight to him. This is the officer here that was in the other three images. This officer here is a different image. I guess when he got in front of the Texas School Book Depository, that one officer took off, but he stayed with them. But see, I just want to point out these facts here because to me, okay, but I don't have no evidence really to bring this up. Just the only thing I can show is that this officer here has white powder on his pants and on his shoes, the white powder with gravel marks. And this gunman right here, his clothes being baggy, he's got military boots on, and you can see they're tucked under. Okay, and his uniform is really baggy and really wrinkled up than all the other officers there that day. But if it was in my research, I would place it as this. Okay, we know for a fact by photographic evidence and everything else and other evidence I've collected that these are the two gunmen was inside shelter number 3. This would be the gunman on the second floor of the county records building, and this gunman here, or this police officer here, will be the gunman on the rooftop of the county records building because he has white powder on his lower pants leg, which he would come down as he's looking over that retaining wall right there at the edge of the roof. Okay, if he comes down, his knee's going to come down into that gravel so he can take his aim and take his shots. And if he's pressed against that wall, he will get it up on his upper pants and on his knees and stuff, as you see here. And with the county records building having a gravel roof, he would get these gravel marks, as you see here, on his shoes with the white powder. Let me bring up this one so we can bring it in closer. We can bring up the shoe more. He can get these gravel marks, as you see, there's gravel mark here, here, coming this way, this way, this way, this way, all over the front here. And as you see, even in the toe area, there's imprints of something that was pressed against the toe of his shoe, which could be rock marks where they was pressed in. You know, when something gets pressed in for a long period of time, it leaves an imprint, and that's what it looks like right here. There's an imprint dent here, an imprint dent here on the tip of his shoe, but we see all these gravel marks all over his shoe with that white powder on his shoes, and we see they're penny loafers, and he has splits on the side, so basically these shoes was really tight for his feet. Other than that, that's all I could show on these two officers as them maybe being the two gunmen in the county records building on top of the county records building, because everybody knows that if you look at even the Tramps and this officer's shoes and other officers' shoes and stuff, they have no scuff marks on their shoes. They're shining, they're registered, they're regular police issued shoes that they're wearing, except for these two or has different shoes on their feet. He's got military boots on, the one in back here, and this one here has got penny loafers on. And there's a lot of scuff marks, and it's not shiny as the other shoes with other officers. As I point out, like we'll go back to this image here. As you see, his shoes are issued, they're tied in front, and they're police issued shoes, and they're shiny, they're not dirty or anything else. But this officer here, his shoes are all powdery and dirty, scuff marks on it and everything else, and he has powder and dirt on his legs right here and here, as you see here and here. So see, to me, okay, this is basically a theory, that's why I don't post this, but I think this is a gunman that was actually on a rooftop of the county records building, and this is a gunman that was on the second floor of the county records building. And not only they took the distraction shot so these two gunmen could get away, but they also, when he got done taking their shot stuff, they came down and he went and met up with these guys right here, and they're trying to take them away like, you know, nothing, you know, that they're suspicious, but you know, these two guys here are hauling away. But then somewhere when he got in front of the Texas School Book Depository, somehow or another, things got messed up, and another officer took that other officer's place, and the other officer just took off, because we don't see him nowhere else in the images. We only see this officer here. Even in this image here, we can't see it too much of dirt imprint and stuff because it's on this leg here behind this officer here. But we can see this is the same officer. Okay, we can tell this is the same officer because of the face and everything else. But to me, like I said, I just want to put this out there. If anybody else wants to go in there and go over images and films or whatever and try and look for evidence themselves to back this up, that's fine with me. I don't care. I just wanted to bring this out to show people that there's actually a lot more there. But like I said, I cannot say 100% that this is the gunman that was on rooftop of the county records building, and this is the gunman that was on the second floor of the county records building. But like I said, he somewhat looks almost the same. By the face structure is almost the same. The hair will be almost the same color. Okay, and as you see, the barrel of the rifle, just like right here, will be almost the same. Okay, but I wanted to point out some facts about these officers, about him wearing this one here, wearing military issue shoes, which are military boots. He's not regular shoes or nothing, these are military boots, and how his pants is very baggy and are tucked in to where this uniform looks like it came from a taller person, and his clothes are very baggy. And then we got this officer here with dirt mark on his pants, white powder from gravel on his pants, I should say, right along with scuff marks from gravel, and also the powder from the gravel on his shoes. This is just some information I wanted to give out there, you know, to show people that there is probably more to the story. Okay, I mean, I figured out most of it, but there's still a lot more. Like I said, I can ID Oswald on the 6th floor of Texas School Book Depository, and I can ID the two gunmen inside the shelter of number 3. But there was still them two other gunmen that we could not ID because of we just have these little bit of film stuff. But I wanted to point this out about these two officers because there's a lot of similarities there. Because like I said, the rooftop of the county records building has gravel on it. all these flat roofs has gravel on it. Okay, and then you see this one officer here with white powder from gravel on his pants leg and even on his knee area and on the front part right here, where it could be pressed against the wall, which that powder would get up on there. That gravel powder would get on his knee and stuff from pressing down as he was taking aim to a shot. He also had gravel marks on the side of his shoes, and he has gravel powder on his shoes as well. And he's the only one. That's this the only officer that has it, because there's hundreds of pictures showing officers, and you can see their shoes and everything else. There's no scuff marks on them. There's no powder marks on them. This is the only officer that has gravel marks on the side and on the tips and on the tops of the shoes, which would be more or less, if you're up and you're sitting down in a crouch position, the tips and tops of your shoes are going to hit that gravel, even the side of your shoes. It all depends how you're standing. Squatting down, you would get a lot of that powder on there and them scuff marks from gravel. Because when I worked on gravel roofs, even in my boots, it all depends, like if I'm cutting around a certain section or whatever, if I'm crouched down doing something, you'll get all these scuff marks and stuff, just like these imprints right here on the tip of the shoes. You get these imprints also inside your boot, on your boot as well, when you're working on these kind of gravel roofs. So I just want to put this information out there for anybody who else likes to go in further. They're trying to see if they can find more information on this. Okay. But to me, it's called a gut feeling, but I usually don't follow gut feelings as well as other feelings. Sometimes your gut feeling can be right, sometimes it can be wrong. There's a lot more information that can be taken from these images. But like I said, if I'm 100% facts, and I got 100% facts here to show, then I'll make that claim. But that's why you won't see this in other my research or nothing, because this was just something I was working on the side to try to ID them other two gunmen. But I just want to bring this out because right now it's hard for me to keep on continuing doing research, because I don't have the funds to keep on ordering a bunch more stuff in or anything else, because doing research just on JFK assassination and Noah's Ark and the Patterson giving them big film, and then spending all this money for first-hand copies and going to places to get these first-hand copy images scanned and everything else, just took all my funding that I saved over the years of working for doing this research. Because no one else funds me, I fund my own self doing my research. So for anybody else that's out there wanting to go further in depth in trying to find if these are the two gunmen that was in the records building, that's fine and dandy. I just want to give this information now so people will see that there is more to the story, and trying to ID these other two gunmen that was in the records building and on top of the records building. But by the evidence I show here so far, you would place this first officer as a gunman on the rooftop of county records building, because county records building on the rooftop is gravel, and you will get white gravel on your pants, and you will get white gravel on your shoes, and you will get gravel scuff marks on your shoes and everything else, which this does line up. Just like this officer back here, his profile fits this gunman on the second floor of county records building, but we don't have a real clear shot to actually fully ID him. But he does fit it a little bit. But as I point out, I want to point these facts out. So if anybody wants to go further in, they'll notice that he has baggy clothes on. His uniform is very baggy. He's got military shoes on, military boots on. His pants legs are actually tucked under, so it can fit him a little bit more better. Actually, it seems like it's for a taller person, like I said. His clothes are very wrinkled. But I just want to put this information out for anybody else that wants to try to look further into it. But there's some evidence that, can be used, as these two officers might be the two gunmen that was in the county records building, which if you think about it, it will be easy access for them to go in with rifles and everything else, and to exit with rifles. And it would be more uh, obvious for them to be able to get the two gunmen away and go down and try to walk them out into another car so they can get away altogether. But it looks like they got messed up a little bit. But that's why these tramps, if you think about it, these tramps was never charged with anything. There's really not too much records about these, just basically the images. Okay, now there's some speculations and some things where they said this is the gunman, these are the tramps, these are tramps, these are tramps. We cannot really say these are that person just by an image, because there's a lot of images of people that looks like somebody. I mean, I got a nephew that runs around going to Comic Cons and dress up like Ace Ventura because he does a good impression of him because he's an actor. And my other nephew's an actor. They're twins. They're actors and stuff. But, you know, they've been in a couple of films already. But you cannot say this person is that person unless you have DNA testing and they're side by side or whatever. But anyway, I just want to give this information out. If you want to go know more information on the JFK assassination, look for my book called Evidence of a Conspiracy, which is on Amazon, which I'll leave the link on in the description down below. And also it's on Kindle. If you can't afford for the book, but you can get it on Kindle right now for $9.99, the Kindle version of that book. So thank you. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to tell your friends about us. There's a lot more information coming out, not only on this subject, but other subjects. And thank you and have a good day.